Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we are doing something with this little black tote. And by little I mean massive. So we are working on mixing up some potting soil, kind of our own mix based off some stuff, different videos and stuff I've watched over the past couple weeks. So I just figured this is something we use to shift the worm castings, and it just makes that a whole lot easier. I figured that big open space, kind of dumping, mixing stuff, it might make it easier as well. We're going to mix, we got organic soil, we have a little bit of peat moss, and then we have some...
Vermiculite. I don't even know if I'm saying it right.
Yeah, there's a different additive I wanted to put into it instead, but this is what we got, and should do the same thing theoretically. So we're going to get started, and once we get the soil mixed up and we get to the next step, we'll explain to you exactly what we're doing.
So lesson learned: when you buy dirt, sand, any of that type of stuff, cats think, hey, that's a digging spot, and they get into it. Don't bring it in your house.
So this is just organic soil. It's nothing major. We bought it from Menards. Hopefully this spring and summer we'll be working with compost, worm compost, and regular compost. But in the meantime, this is kind of what we got.
I meant to ask about that yesterday when I went to the farm.
But like I said, hopefully next spring, or this spring, instead of just organic soil, gardening soil from Menards, we'll actually have some either worm castings or some actual compost mix.
See, Menards does sell a compost mix, but I've noticed that their compost mix that they sell isn't fully done processing, and I didn't know for indoor use if it would produce too much heat if we would have used that. So I decided not to get that for indoor use, because I've gotten it in the past for outside. Pretty sure that they've already kind of got a little bit of the vermiculite or perlite, or because there's two different types, already in the soil, so that helps retain moisture.
Alright, so in this bucket we have peat moss, and we got in the bucket because we bought a bunch of bags because it's the same substrate we use for worm bins. So we bought the big, what are they, 50-pound bags?
I think they're like 5 cubic square feet or something, because they're not very heavy. They're not. I don't think they're 50 pounds.
Whatever the big bags that you can pick up from Home Depot, Menards, Lowe's, whatever that is. That's the bags we bought. We bought a bunch of them, had them out in the garage, and mice tore into them. So everything ended up going in buckets. We got a bunch of these buckets at a really good price on Facebook.
We need more.
But this is just unprocessed peat moss that we were storing until we went to the worm bin. It's also pretty chunked up.
Well, we had a lot of bags. I want to say we had about 10 or 20 bags that we had to condense into buckets, and we were packing them as tight as we could, so we were utilizing less buckets. So that's kind of expected. Because if you've ever opened up those peat moss bags, once you open them, they expand a lot. They're packed pretty tight in those bags. So this is the wrong time of year if you're getting into this to try to buy some of this gardening stuff. It's starting to come back on the shelf now, but it's not fully out there. Vermiculite, perlite, I think that's what the other one's called. They're not really at the stores right now. They're pretty well non-existent. It's a springtime thing. Luckily, because we breed bearded dragons, this is what I use when I keep the dragon's eggs in the incubator and a substrate, because this helps retain moisture but not promote mold growth. So luckily we had this on hand, but you can't find it in the stores right now.
Alright, so the guy I've been watching for quite a while now, when he mixes his soil up, he does about a third of all three. But the peat moss and the vermiculite is really just for moisture. It's just to help hold some moisture into the soil so it doesn't dry out as fast. So for the peat moss, I just simply put about a layer, maybe that thick on it, and that's it. We're going to sprinkle a little bit of this in there for the exact same reasons that she just mentioned.
More.
That's probably good.
Like I said, I think the garden or the soil that we got from Menards, it was organic, but it was also organic potting soil. So I think they already had some vermiculite or perlite already mixed into it because I had little round balls that were expanded. So I think we do have some of that already in the soil as well.
So all I'm going to do now that we got kind of layered in there is I'm just going to turn the dirt and kind of mix it all together. And that's pretty consistent. Or it's probably as consistent as we're going to get it. And it's dirt, and it got to be perfect. Alright guys, so here is what we're doing. Kind of going along the same lines as the whole self-sufficient stuff you guys have been seeing gradually over the channel. We talked about we want to do more gardening and we want to grow more of our own vegetables, and at some point hopefully get out on our homestead where we'll be able to grow a lot of our vegetables and fruit. This is another step towards that. This is also going to be kind of another adventure for us. We're trying this out, seeing how we like it, and possibly going to see if there's a market out there. Obviously I know there's a market because there's farmers markets and different things like that, but ultimately what I want to do is I want to quit my job, I want to move out of the city, we want to get our own property in the country, and we want to start kind of farming for ourselves. Having the homestead, the animals, the fruits, the vegetables, kind of getting out on our own, not depending on big box stores like I've mentioned a couple times in the videos now.
Control what we're intaking, no more chemicals and nasty stuff like that too.
Yeah, so it's going to be a lot more like kind of controlling what we're eating, and at the same time if we can get into like the market gardening and what we're actually doing right now, which is using these flats, is going to be microgreens. If you guys don't really know much about microgreens, join the club. I don't either. You guys can watch a lot of videos. The Epic Gardener on YouTube is one I've been watching the most lately. Amazing content. If you guys want to see some stuff about gardening, including microgreens, you guys can go check him out as well. But theoretically, take your mix, put it in the tray, which is called a flat for obvious reasons. It's flat-ish. It's not like the seed starter trays where you have the little pods. It's actually an open flat. That's hence flat. But you put your soil into the flats, level it off real nice, and then you sprinkle your seeds over the top, water a little bit, and you take a second tray. I'll show you when we get there. I'm not even going to go over there and grab another tray, but we'll show you the process for the best as far as what I understand it, since I probably have a little more knowledge than you do.
Yeah, he's definitely done a little more research. The only thing I can say he didn't mention, and I will mention it early on, if you live in a small house, small apartment, this is great for you. You can plant these in a very small amount of space and grow your own produce in your house. You don't need the big garden bed for this.
So if you're going to do microgreens, which there's multiple different greens you can actually grow, this is where they're in their entire life cycle. So you plant them in here, you'll harvest them out of here. So very easy to fit on a shelf, bookcase, but it's very easy to fit pretty much anywhere you can think of because it's narrow enough to fit up on a shelf. All you have to do is have a little bit of a grow light, which we have. I think they're all upstairs or in the other room, so I'll show you those a little bit later as well, because we have also not figured out exactly where we're putting these. Just kind of thought about that right now, but we're going to go through the process, and then after we get done doing flats, I also have a seed starter tray because we do have a couple they interlock with each other and stack up. We're going to put those in the window bay, I think, or putting them under the grow lights as well. But we're going to start with the flats. So I have a water gun. This is the sprayer you guys see in the worm castings, or the worm bin. This is the sprayer we use. We're going to just wet it down. We kind of talked about this off camera. This is kind of what we're going to do, I guess.
It was recommended by the one that he likes to watch, Epic Gardener, I think he said, that you wet from the bottom up because it's less likely to form mold. If you wet it from the top, he said that you're just more likely to get mold, and you don't want your plants to get moldy. So we're just we're not doing exactly the amounts he said because our soil is relatively damp already. But we're just putting some water at the bottom here so we can evaluate once we get done, and we might have to add some water to the top, but at least most of it will come from the bottom.
So we got not a whole lot, there's just a little bit of water. So we're going to go ahead, you want to make sure the tray don't dump.
Yep.
We're just going to start dumping dirt in.
Now the perk to microgreens is they are ready to harvest fast. The seed mix we have right now is a seed mix you can buy at the store that's a microgreen seed mix. That says it can harvest within 5 days. There's another one there that was the hot one. That one said it would harvest in like 10 days. But most of them harvest within 2 weeks. Downfall to it is most of them, from what we understand, it's a one-time harvest and then you have to replant new seeds. So you aren't going, like lettuces normally you could harvest multiple times when you grow it to full maturity, where when you do microgreens you're going to get one harvest out of it. From what we understand. We may try and see what happens if we let it grow again and see if it grows again.
I think what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to get at least 3 cuttings off the greens we grow and just see how they do. But if we're going to try to do this on a commercial type setup, we're probably going to want to, as long as we can keep the quality up, 3 would be okay. But if we can't keep the quality of the product up, obviously then we're not going to be able to do it.
But it is a fast turnaround, which is a big perk. It doesn't take long for this to mature to the point where you can use it and eat it.
So here's the setup. We didn't go all the way up to the top because from what he was saying is you keep about 1/4 of an inch. Some spots might be a little worse. Some spots might be a little bit bigger than that, but if you keep about 1/4 of an inch, when you go to harvest, you'll come and you'll cut across and you'll keep all the dirt off, and then you won't have to necessarily wash your greens if you don't want to. Alright, so regardless whether we want to water it down more or not, you want to spray the top. You want to spray the top just to give the seeds a little help to stick. Should have probably adjusted the nozzle a little bit, but this is what we picked up. So this is the seeds that we picked up. Picked up 5 or 6 packs of these.
Now you don't have to buy microgreen seeds because you can do peas, you can do lettuce, you can do chives. So you can essentially do your own trays of some different things. You just have to research which ones you can do as microgreens, because some seeds you can't eat those beginning shoots. They're not healthy. It's not good. It's not safe. But we got the mixture just because it was a decent price and we were trying it. So we thought, well, instead of wasting the seeds we bought for outside, we're going to do this.
So they do have seeds marketed as microgreens. The difference between microgreens and regular seeds are absolutely nothing. They're the same exact seed you'd buy if you bought standard lettuce and then you bought microgreen lettuce. Literally the same exact seed. So it's one of those where they constantly try to wrap you into gimmicks where they slap microgreens on it and they charge a premium. Same exact seed. So if you're going to plant lettuce, just get lettuce. If you're going to plant peas, just get peas. Don't necessarily focus on anything that says microgreens, because for the most part it's just a gimmick.
I will say another reason why I did get these is because we didn't get a lot of lettuce when we ordered our seeds because this wasn't part of our plans. And I was at the store and they had no other seeds out yet. These were the only ones. They had microgreens out and they had flowers. So I thought, well, you know what? I'm just going to grab some of these microgreen packages. For $1 a pack, it wasn't bad. And this has a mixture of a few different types of lettuce, so you get a different flavor. But yeah, if they would have had lettuce out, usually you can get those two of the packages for $1 and stuff. I would definitely grab the lettuce.
So there's no real way, no pattern, or anything like that you need to follow. You just want to do a pretty consistent covering. The vermiculite that we put in is making it a little difficult to see because it roughly is the same size as the seeds. But you just want a nice covering, that's all you're really trying to do. And then I am checking parts I ripped off because I want every last seed.
We paid for those. We are talking about going on to like the seed selling site that we ordered from or another one and possibly trying to order a larger amount of lettuces or possibly some of the other microgreen growing seeds. Like I said, we originally weren't planning on doing this. This was kind of a spur of the moment, hey, let's try it out. So when we ordered seeds, we ordered for our growth in our yard, not for microgreen trays.
We also didn't order for trying to resell. At the time, we were just ordering for ourselves. So if we end up kind of taking off with this, we're going to be doing a lot more seeds than we initially anticipated on.
You do want this to be a relatively thick coating of seeds, though. Not just a couple seeds here and there. Like when you plant outside, you would plant like a seed and then you'd skip a little bit. With this, you do want it to be fairly thick covering.
Yeah.
I'd put more on this side because I think that side you got it a little bit more packed. That looks like it's pretty good.
Alright, so we have a covering that we're at least semi-confident in. This is brand new to us. We've never done microgreens whatsoever, so this is kind of a new territory, but we're semi-confident. But, no, it's on the front. Okay. So, the mix of seeds that we have is cabbage, kale, mustard. So it's cabbage, red express, kale,
Wakanto?
mustard, tasso, black knight, cabbage, pak, chow,
Choi.
whatever, and mustard, Mizuna.
Mizuna, I think.
It's a bunch of weird stuff. It's basically cabbage, mustard, and kale. But that's what's in the mix.
This is the mild mix, so like the mustard is more of a, you'd say a spicy or hot lettuce. The other one was the hot mix, which had majority mustard mixes. I don't like mustard just as it is, so I decided to go with the mild mix and not get the hot mix for us to try, because I think we would have just decided we hated it if we would have just gotten the hot mix and tried it.
So the other tip the guy gave one of the videos, can't remember if it was exactly Epic Gardening's video or not. The other tip was compact just a tiny bit so the seeds make better contact. And what he did was used another flat. Now, flats, again, are not flat. They're rigid. So you're going to kind of just set it in there and then just kind of lightly tap it. And then I'm just gonna do one of these. So we didn't really leave a whole lot of ridges, like maybe I'm not tapping it hard enough, but I really don't want to compact it too hard either. But if you do end up with ridges, you kind of just smooth them out really quick with your hand. And then you can do two things. I've seen in videos of both ways, and they both worked in the videos. So we'll see if they work in real life. But option one, done. Just set an empty tray over the top. When it starts to push up, that's when you pull it off and let the grow lights do their job. Option two, done. All you're doing is creating a dark dome. You can do the same thing, but obviously you're gonna have a much bigger growth under the tray. But you can give it like 4 or 5 days, come check on it. If you got a really good growth or the lid's starting to move, take it off, let the grow lights do their job. I don't exactly know which way we're gonna do yet.
Now, I will point this out just because I don't know if this video is going to be finished as they're growing or if we're going to have a second video come up. But when you're doing this with blocking the light out when your initial shoots come up with the container over it like that, they're going to be more yellow. They're not going to be as green as like a healthy looking plant is. That does not mean your plants are unhealthy. That's just because there's been no photosynthesis, there's been no light over it. So once you expose them to the grow light for a day or two, it will start turning green. So don't freak out when you take this off and go, why are all my plants yellow? That's just because of no light.
Yeah, your plants are going to get the green color because of the photosynthesis through the lights. With the dark out dome, English. With the dark out dome, that's how your seeds germinate, because it needs dark and damp spaces to germinate. So once the seeds germinate, they're going to come out looking a little yellow because they're not coming out to sunlight, but they're also not in the ground like they usually would be. So when you set up starter seeds, you can usually get away with a humidity dome, which is the same thing, just clear. And all it does is keep the humidity in. It allows light to go through, so when they sprout up out of the ground, they're immediately getting light, and that's why they're green. Because these are going to be in the dark until you take that lid off. It's going to be yellowish, and usually it takes about 24, usually max 48 hours for them to get that green. But we're going to set this one to the side because we're going to do another flat. And then I think we're going to do some starter seeds, because we are, like I said, trying to get those pots that are interlocking. We're going to try to get those growing with some herbs. Alright guys, so I have tray number 2, or flat number 2. I just put some water in it, and now, if you excuse me, I have to go downstairs and get some dirt. Back up from downstairs with tray, or flat number 2. I probably could have done one more dirt. What do you think? Try a little more dirt or leave it?
Yeah, it's okay.
Alright, so we're going to spray the top, just like last one. And then we're going to start sprinkling.
You know, being a dumpster diver, one of my fellow dumpster divers found literally the whole seed display at the end of last spring. And it had the microgreens in it and everything. I wish I would have found that.
Alright, so we're going to compact.
You left ridges this time.
I compacted a little harder this time. But I did leave ridges because, like I showed you guys, flats are not flat. So I'm just going to kind of come through. Flatten them out a little bit. And then flat number 2 is done. But hopefully you guys at least enjoyed it. If not, learned something. Again, appreciate you guys coming by checking the video out. Make sure you guys are staying positive. Try to keep your heads in the right place. Make sure you guys are loving yourselves, your families, your friends, and your neighbors, because everybody needs a little bit of love. You got anything else?
Be kind. You never know what anyone's going through.
We'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.